Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the channel. And for today's video, we're going to be having a little bit of fun. But before we get things started, man, I hope you guys have been enjoying the holiday season, spending some quality time with friends and family, and creating some lifelong memories. Okay, so that being said, let's get right to it, man. You've seen the title, you've seen the thumbnail. For today's video, we are going to be ranking, right, all of the tier 3 characters that we received in 2019, because the year is coming to a close and it's been a very interesting year in Marvel Future Fight. We spent over 12,000 CCF tier 3 characters this year, and honestly I was expecting another tier 3 to close things off, because we only got a grand total of 10 tier 3 characters in 2019. I was hoping for an 11th, but after running the math and seeing just how many CCF I spent this year, I'm content, right, with the 10 that we got. They're not perfect. There's a couple that I'd like to be stronger than they currently are, and we are going to talk about that. But nonetheless, it's been an interesting year where we saw some characters rise to power upon their arrival in Marvel Future Fight, and at the exact same time, we saw the return of some old favorites, right? Pretty interesting year, and it all started with Mr. Fantastic and the Fantastic Four update, quickly followed by Captain Marvel, right? Who'd ever thought that she would be getting tier 3 and end up becoming one of the best characters in the game. After that, we got tier 3 Wolverine, a disappointment for many, myself included, followed by Thanos. Oh my goodness. Somehow they made the strong even stronger, and then they did it. They created a monster. The return of the Phoenix, followed by Steven, the goddamn demon, and then King Namor, upon his arrival, received his tier 3 and quickly followed with a uniform to cement his spot as one of the best in the game. Immediately following that, we got tier 3 Cyclops, Quicksilver, and Apocalypse to close out 2019. So to say it was an interesting year is an understatement at best, right? But that being said, who towers above all of these tier 3 characters that we got in 2019, and who is at the bottom? Leave your list in the comment section below, because as always, everything I say here is subjective. It's my opinion based on my time playing with these characters throughout the year. So if you feel differently, I encourage you, dissect this list. Leave your own in the comments, and if you're not content, join us on Discord and we can chop it up there. Now, that being said, let's jump right into it, boys. This right here, all the characters you see favorited are the tier 3 characters that we got in 2019. And at the bottom of the pile, unfortunately, is Wolverine, the most disappointing tier 3 character of 2019. And it's unfortunate because he's a mid-tier tier 3 character that costs 1200 CCF. And the disappointing part about all of this is he's gotten multiple uniforms, and I've gotten them all to Mythic in hopes that we could one day see the Wolverine that we got in this game. When he first came out, he was very fearsome, very dominant in PvP, but as we saw the evolution of Future Fight before our eyes, characters got so much damage that the once unkillable Wolverine is now very much so killable, and his damage did not progress to keep up with the pack, unfortunately. Even with a new uniform in 2019 and a cool looking tier 3 skill, he's just not where he needs to be. So unfortunately, this right here for me, listen now, was the most disappointing tier 3 of 2019. A uniform, 1200 CCF, and it still wasn't enough to resurrect this legend. Quite unfortunate. Moving on, number 9 on this list for me is a character that is coming from a further place than Wolverine. And it's quite shocking that I end up having to put him above Wolverine, but it should be even more shocking to tell you guys just how good of a character I think he is. He went from being a leadership, a support, and a Shadowland only character to being, in my opinion, one of the best and most useful characters in the game right now. And honestly, I thought about putting him at number 8. However, I ultimately settled on the 9th spot for our boy Scotty. If you disagree, let me know in the comments. But because of this uniform right here giving him fire damage, and because of the fact that he's energy based, he can take on every single world boss ultimate stage at a very high level, and he offers a leadership and a support passive to go along with that. I've even seen people use Cyclops in PvP. I usually kill them with the quickness, but I am not going to sit here and lie to you guys that I've never lost to a Cyclops. Never lost a full fight, but I've definitely been one-shotted a couple times by his 5th skill. So yeah, watch out. There's a couple people in timeline, even this week, that I've seen them put Cyclops in their team. I genuinely wipe out their team, but they've caught me slacking a couple times and even killed my Deadpool when I had a type advantage with Cyclops. So don't sleep on him. I know a couple of you guys are going to say, well, Wolverine can do PvE at a respectable level and he can also do PvP, so why would you put Cyclops above him? Well, I think Cyclops has much more value than Wolverine, and he also costs less, not just for his uniform to upgrade, but also to tier 3. He's only 800, whereas Wolverine is 1200. So yeah, that also plays a role here. Number 8 on this list, and a character that I wanted to put at number 9, started off this year, started off not so good in my eyes, but then he got a uniform and he got much better. Long overdue, I finally got him to tier 3, and I think what he lacks at tier 2, he more than makes up for at tier 3. That is Mr. Fantastic, right? His leadership, not as useful as Cyclops, but it is very good for the members of the Fantastic Four. And like I said previously, what he lacks at tier 2, he more than makes up for with the Fantastic Punch, aka the Gumu Gumu no jet pistol straight out of One Piece. You dig? Mr. Fantastic is an absolute beast and a force to be reckoned with. So even though his cost is higher than Cyclops, and Cyclops has a little bit more versatility than he does, because Cyclops can take down every single world boss ultimate stage because he's energy and elemental, whereas Mr. Fantastic is a physical based character. I still have to give props to Mr. Fantastic. He's definitely one of the strongest characters in the game, so he deserves to be respected. Number 7 on this list, and a character that I wanted to put at number 6, but ultimately I settled for the 7th spot, is actually a character that I've been asking for tier 3 for a couple months, and we finally got it. My main man, Apoc Shakur. He got a fantastic uniform this year, resurrected him, brought him back into the fold. He's now much easier to use than he's ever been, and he has much more damage to go along with it. He can be utilized in every game mode, you name it. Apocalypse can do it. So I absolutely had to put him somewhere on this list above Mr. Fantastic, Cyclops, and Wolverine. I toyed with the idea of putting him in the 6th spot, but ultimately I decided to give this one to a new character that came in the game and made his presence felt from the moment he arrived. King Namor came in the game, and even with his base kit, was better than the majority of the characters in the game at level 60. At level 70 he got better, and tier 3 he's just beyond godly. He's not very good for PvP, however, he has multiple looks in the comics, so his value will continue to rise, especially since he's a premium character, so there's a lot of money to be made here. Nonetheless, Namor is an absolute monster in terms of his raw damage output. No defense down gimmick needed. He can get the job done in any kind of PvE situation, and I look forward to seeing just how much they improve Namor going forward. Moving on, we have the number 5 spot, and this one was a challenge as well. However, ultimately, I decided to give it to Carol Danvers. One of the biggest comebacks we've ever seen to date in Marvel Future Fight. A character that went from being like a low-level Shadowland clearer and a leadership, she basically turned into a god. I kid you not, there is nothing she cannot do. If you want, you can give her energy, you can give her rage, and she'll take down all kinds of PvE content. You can give her destruction, and she'll destroy absolutely every character in PvP. The only thing she's lacking in her kit, in my eyes, is healing or damage immunity, and she'll just be beyond perfect. Yeah, it's that real. Next character here, number 4. Right? I wanted him to be a little bit higher on this list. However, I think this is a good spot. You guys can argue it and let me know if you think he deserves to be at 5 and Captain Marvel deserves to be at 4. But nonetheless, I decided to give it to the hot dog eating Savage because he returned, even though he never really left, one of the strongest level 60 characters in the game, level 70, and one of the strongest tier 3s in the game. Just like Namor, no defense down gimmick needed, he's just that powerful. However, unlike Namor, he has the duality where he can be used in every single game mode. PvP, PvE, doesn't matter, Pietro will deliver every single time. This uniform is not necessarily needed. However, if you have no uniform for him, I would highly recommend that you go straight to this one because you get some additional attack speed, which is not built into this uniform. But this one is just as good, and I think even with this uniform, he still deserves to be in the top 5. It is without question. Moving on, the top 3 is where the controversy will begin for the majority of you guys watching this video. However, I decided to give it to one of my all-time favorite supervillains. I would have liked it if he was higher on this list, but nonetheless, top 3 is definitely really good. A 1600 CCF character, and he's closer to the top than Apocalypse, so who can be mad at that? Anyways, Thanos, the big bad Thanos, made his presence felt this year, right? For a long time, if you've been following the channel, I had a big gripe with Thanos not being as good as he should be, where he wasn't really good for PvE and he was barely even usable for PvP. However, we saw his evolution and it was a good one because right now there is nothing he cannot do at the highest level. One of the most tanky characters in the game. To say this guy is a super tank is beyond, it's like seriously, words, like crazy, right? He can heal, he has damage block, he has invincibility, he has iframe, you know what I'm saying? He has penetration. He is truly a god tier character, beyond god tier. Honestly, he really is. And this uniform and this tier 3 that he got just really push him over the edge. And I don't think they're going to ever be able to top this for Thanos, but I look forward to seeing what they can do for him someday. Not sure when that day is going to come, but it will be interesting nonetheless. Moving on, this is where real controversy is going to begin. I know I said that before, but the number 2 spot here, I decided to give it to Steven, the goddamn demon. Cue the Stephen Strange fanboys. I can see them now coming over the hill with their pitchforks ready to stab me up like they don't know I'm one of them. Listen to me, fellas. Number 2, one of the biggest comebacks we've seen this year and probably one of the biggest ones we'll ever see. Unless, you know what I'm saying, 2020 bring us Odin, Dormammu, and all that. But we'll talk about that later. Anyways, Stephen Strange returned to the game in a big way. Upon his release, he was one of the best PvE characters because of his time freeze and the fact that you could spam Demons of Danak. However, as the game progressed, he kind of fell off, but he was still a staple, I would say, to some degree in PvP. However, the images of Khan really made Doctor Strange one of the greatest PvE characters we've seen in the history of Marvel Future Fight. The fact that you can just keep them completely paralyzed as soon as you hit this thing the first time and just apply a ton of defense down to the enemy and just completely cut through them is unbelievable. His damage is beyond godly and he definitely deserves to be in the top 3 in the game for PvE content. However, the reason why he's not number 1 is because he relies on defense down. Meaning take him out of situations where defense down will work and you will notice a massive drop to his damage. Still very good damage, but you will notice a significant drop just like you would for somebody like Deadpool. Okay, so that is why Doctor Strange is number 2. And to be honest with you guys, even more so, he's definitely not as dominant in PvP as the number 1 character. So Stephen Strange fanboys, Doctor Strange fanboys, I'm one of you. Please put the pitchforks down and let me live to continue this video. Thank you very much. Moving on. Number 1, Jean Grey. Can you guys argue this, right? She got this uniform and it just made her like next level beast, better than most of the tier 3 characters we've seen to date, right? At that point in time. And still, in my opinion, even without a tier 3, she's better than most of the tier 3s in the game because of how useful she is in PvP. However, her tier 3 skill is absolutely amazing. The damage on this thing is mental, and part of the reason why I think she definitely deserves to be above Doctor Strange because just like Quicksilver and Namor, you don't need defense down to get unbelievable amount of damage out of Jean Grey. So if we see more game modes in 2020 and 2021, if the game is still here, where defense down is not as prominent as it currently is in World Boss Ultimate, characters like Jean Grey will still hold their entire value, whereas characters like Doctor Strange and Deadpool, they'll fall off a little bit. Not saying that's what I want, but that's what I'm saying. That's what it is and will be if we get more game modes like those. And why wouldn't we want more game modes that challenge us, right? Because defense down definitely takes some of the challenges out of it. Anyways, so this is my top 10. This is how I ranked all of the characters that got tier 3 in 2019. If you agree, disagree, let me know in the comments, because yeah, ultimately this is my opinion, my perspective, and I'm only one person. So feel free to let me know. I definitely look forward to seeing how 2020 and 2021 is going to play out, because in this year alone, we saw the rise of seven tier 2 natives receiving tier 3. That is a lot of CCF, and we still have more tier 2 natives waiting in the wings to get their tier 3. Will we see the rise of Victor Von Doom? Will we see the triumph of the Silver Savage? Will we see both versions of Nate Dogg receive tier 3? Or will we see the return of Dormammu and Odin? Very interesting things await us in 2020 and beyond. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to wrap it up right here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Leave your thoughts in the comments. It's been an amazing year, and I look forward to seeing the future of Marvel Future Fight. Till next time, stay safe. I love you guys. Peace out.